How about the Mackay Bulldogs? They went on the road and they won a big game. How big was it? Well, it didn't make any difference to their playoff standing, but what it did do was give the Bulldogs their first outright district title, since 1979. The last time Mackay had won a district title outright. Unbelievable, 34 years ago. So Mackay next takes on Brownsville Rivera. That one will be Friday night at Veterans Memorial Stadium, as that stadium gets a workout this weekend with 2 games. Laredo Alexander will come to Edinburgh and take on the Economedes Jaguars. That game will be on Friday at Edinburgh Cat Stadium. And joining Joe and I on the panel right now is Stephen Ryan of the Valley Morning Star. Thanks for joining us, Stephen.
Thanks for having me on, Clay.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about what Brownsville Rivera had to do to get to this point and how impressive it was, Stephen, because they had to, they were starting really slow, but finished strong with 2 huge wins that they had to have, and a win over Brownsville Hannah, who was probably the presumptive favorite to come out of this district from Brownsville. Your thoughts on Rivera and winning when they had to?
Yeah, I think they had to overcome a lot of hurdles this year, and a lot of it was mental. I mean, they're not used to to making the playoffs. They're not used to winning big games. And they just had to kind of get over that hump, and once they won one, they won another, and suddenly here they are in the playoffs. They just got done when it mattered. That's true, and Rivera not used to making the playoffs lately, but the guy who's their coach is used to winning with Rivera. Tom Chavez. That Rivera defense starting to look like a Tom Chavez defense.
Yeah, and that's when they made the difference, when they started to gel and to play into his style. That's when they made the turn. They were in the shadows. Nobody talked about Rivera, and he was okay with that. And he got that defense ready, and then that, us against the world mentality. But then they started winning football games that they had to, and then when your defense is strong enough, you can do that, and they're not going to be an easy out of the playoffs. They're here for a reason. They're a good football team.
Yeah, and when you think about the Tom Chavez started last year, he didn't even start with the team until June, so it's been quite the turnaround for Rivera. But let's go ahead and make our picks, Stephen. It is Brownsville Rivera at McAllen High. It is on Friday night. Your thoughts? Who's going to win this game?
Yeah, I still like McAllen. They're just so balanced offensively. You stop the run, they'll throw it on you. You stop their pass, they'll run it on you. And Brownsville Rivera, good job getting in the playoffs, but this is a really tough matchup for them.
Fred Hover makes a difference. Without Fred Hover, Mackay is beatable. Fred Hover is going to make a difference in a game like this. He alone can carry this football team. It's going to be tough, though. Rivera's good enough to beat him, but McAllen.
If McAllen has shown me anything this year, it's that they can always play up to and with the teams that they are going against. Rivera can go out to a lead, but Mackay will come back. Mackay might go out to a lead and have Rivera come back, but the Bulldogs have been so tough all year long. I've got Mackay winning that game. Meanwhile, we're talking about Harlingen South. We showed you a little earlier how many points Los Fresnos put up against the Hawks, but the Hawks themselves, they put up even more. Over 100 points scored at Aguilar Stadium as the Hawks offense looking good for another week, and this one at Los Fresnos. But Joe, I'm wondering about the Hawks and their defense. The Bird Bowl and this Los Fresnos game, before those 2 games, everybody thought that the Hawks D was one of the best in the Valley. What do we think of them now?
Well, the Bird Bowl, they didn't look so bad. They got beat up a little bit. I wonder if that carried over to Los Fresnos game, but Los Fresno torched them. So I'm not sure. That's not a good way you want to send your defense into the playoffs, because it's susceptible, because if that stuff works, there's other teams with more firepower than what Los Fresnos has.
And so let's look at the bottom of that bracket, as Harlingen South will now take on Weslaco East, as Bobby Lackey Stadium gets 2 games this weekend as well. This is a 2 o'clock Saturday game for Harlingen South at Weslaco East. Edinburgh North and Eagle Pass in a rematch of a fantastic game. Last year it was at the Alamo Dome. This year much closer. It's Saturday in Alice. But let's talk about South and East, and your thoughts, Stephen, on this game, and who do you see coming out on top?
I still like South. I just think there's too much talent there. And yeah, the defense has kind of gone through a little swing the last few weeks, but I think they needed that. They were just simply untested through 8 weeks. They were going to shut those teams out no matter what. But these last 2 weeks, they got to see what the playoff atmosphere is like, and they're going to be ready for it this Saturday. I think they're going to come out with a win.
Once East gave up all those points to McAllen Memorial, I'm going to say anybody that's got a good offense has got a chance to beat them, and this is going to be a real good offense coming to town. Harlingen South takes out Weslaco East.
Well, Weslaco, you mentioned that Weslaco East McAllen Memorial game. That was very much like the Harlingen South and Los Fresnos game, where the last team that scored comes away with a win. But I'm going to say that Harlingen South has got just a little too much. Weslaco East defense has struggled a little bit all year, and I think Harlingen South is going to come away with the win there. We mentioned Edinburgh North and playing Eagle Pass again. Joe, this was one of the best games of the year last year. It was in the Alamo Dome. How much is Edinburgh North a better team this year? They've certainly got a target this year that they didn't have last year going into the playoffs.
Exactly. 4-5 is the record, and don't get caught looking at that if you're looking at Eagle Pass. Look at the fact that Edinburgh North's defense is good, and they better bring their game, because Eagle Pass is going to have everything to throw at them, including a chip on their shoulder from losing last year.
Stephen, I know you covered many Eagle Pass games during your time in Laredo. This, they've got a team that gives Edinburgh North fits. It was a close game last year. What do you expect this year?
From what I've heard, this isn't one of Eagle Pass's stronger teams in recent years, but Edinburgh North has got to bring the offense. I mean, we saw what happened against Sherryland. The offense didn't show up at all, and they got beat. So I'm a little bit concerned about the Cougars on that side of the ball, but if they bring it, then I think they'll win the game.
All right, well, we are coming right back on Sunday Sports Extra. Going to talk 3A football as La Gruya comes so close to getting that first district title. Now they have a chance to win in the playoffs, and it is round 2 for Port Isabel and Raymondville, hopefully this time without the rain. We'll talk about it next.